gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1.
Hey, everybody. I had to pause on my computer for some reason again. But hey, everybody. We're here with, I call him Chief VanBrederode, but Jim VanBrederode. He's running for the New York Senate in the 56th district in New York. And we're going to do a Q&A night here with him so people can ask questions. And hopefully people will come on and ask questions. I just put the comment thing up there. We'll see how many people. We're live on Facebook. But you know something? You know what I got to do real quick? And I almost forgot. Let me do this real quick. I am going to share this. Give me 1 second here. Because I have to share.
Procrastination is the key.
I'm sharing this on True Blue New York. I almost forgot about it. Let's see here. Just give me a second. Share the group. Because True Blue New York. Here we go. Post. Now it is now shared on True Blue New York. So the thing is, that this is the first time I've ever tried doing that. We're doing it on Save New York, and we're also on True Blue New York at the same time to try to get more people to come in and ask questions and stuff. Anyhow, so we're here with Cherie also. She's going to be asking the questions that pop up. But Jim VanBrederode, like I said, he's running for New York Senate in District 56, and former police chief of Gates Police Department. But that's why I always call him Chief. I can't help it. That's always, in my mind, he's always Chief. But anyhow, Chief, can you give people a little bit of background information about yourself and before we start getting into the questions?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me back on your show. I retired after 37 years in law enforcement in 2022 in January, and then I threw my name in for the same position back in 2022 to challenge Jeremy Cooney. He was just completing his first 2-year term as the senator of the 56th district there. And, I have no political experience. I've never won any type of a political office. And I think that's a strength going into this election, because if you look at how we got to where we are, it's because of those career politicians. But, I spent 37 years being the peacekeeper out there, fixing problems for people. Playing cops and robbers was only about 20% of the job. The rest of the job was coming up with solutions for people when they had addictions in their problem, or they had addiction issues in their family, getting out of an abusive relationship. You have a child that was uncontrollable. These are all issues that I had to deal with and come up with solutions with. And then ultimately I became the chief of police for the last about 9 years of my career. And during that time, I think I worked really hard in building the community together to become one community and to bridge those gaps between different communities, like the addiction community, the autism community, our veterans, the domestic violence survivors. And then ultimately, the last 5 years, I was actually the president of the Monroe County Chiefs Association. And I was very, very outspoken on the news almost monthly as the chief of chiefs there to address those woke progressive policies that were starting to come out or be discussed around 2015, 2016, 2017, raise the age. I held press conference after press conference, legalization of marijuana, the parole, less is more. All those issues, were going to have negative consequences on the community. And our job as law enforcement was to make sure that people knew what those negative consequences were before they went and passed all that crazy legislation. And of course, they went and did it anyway. They never listened to any of us. And so that's why we sit here 3 years after marijuana has been legalized. And, I was listening to a radio show yesterday, and there's less than 100 legal marijuana shops in New York, and there's 35,000 illegal stores selling marijuana. The black market is thriving. We've had murders over this black market. Officer Mazurkiewicz was killed because of that black market. And this is the type of nonsense that's going on in Albany. And that's why I really said I've got to try to use my position within this community, the trust that I have in the community as the police chief, and see if I can get people to vote for somebody who has conservative values and thinks the government's gone way too far in a policy. So I ran back in 2022. I got 46% of the vote. He obviously won. It's now 2 years later, and things are even worse in New York. And I'm going to try it again. And you know what? Voters will have a choice. But it's up to the voters to come out and change your government. You know, I'm willing to be the change. I'm coming out of retirement to do this. I'm making a lot of sacrifices, my wife and I, to run for office. But I am so discouraged and fed up with the crime, the economy, the illegals. I mean, what do you want to talk about? Constitutional rights that we've lost. I mean, you name it. The schools, no parental notifications. Things have just gone way too far to the left. And that's why I'm here, to try to be that voice of reason for the average New Yorkers who are still here and haven't moved out, to try to restore some sort of sanity back to Albany.
You know, real quick, you get ready to say something there, Sheree.
That's okay.
Real quick though, back because you ran once before, and then I talked to you like about a week afterward. You're like, yeah, I'm pretty much, you know, I'm probably not going to do it again. But something inside of you went, I got to do it again. Something's got, you know, some kind of drive. Some kind of drive was there to say, I got to do this again. I can't give up yet.
Well, a couple things. We were in the February, and I asked my wife. I sit home every night and I watch the news, and I start yelling at the TV when I see what they're proposing, and I see some of the crime stories, and I think of these poor victims, and I'm like, oh my God, you know. So in February, there were a couple major incidents that occurred, and by then, the Republican Party hadn't had anyone that was showing an interest to run for this. We had the incident down in New York City, you know, where the illegal migrants jumped the NYPD cops and then walked out of court throwing the finger. And I kind of have that picture on my computer screensaver, the guy throwing the finger. And that's where we're at in this country, you know, when you can come here illegally and do that. Number two, there was an incident that I thought nobody even cared about. There was a 15-year-old girl in the city of Rochester who was in the safety of her own home alone, when this parolee came to the house. He kidnaps her out of the house, takes her to another location. He rapes her. He videotapes it. He puts a gun to her head. I mean, doesn't it sound like what Hamas did to the Israel people, right? He videotaped it. He raped her. And he gets arrested. He's a parolee, right? He's out on this less is more. And nobody got on TV. No one of an elected official, the mayor, you know, how could this happen in my city? Nobody said a word about this other than what the reporters did and the police said about it. And it was just a horrific crime. And I'm sitting home and I'm like, hi, you know, we can't let them run with no opponent. And then thirdly, something new that most people don't know is, believe it or not, the Democrats back in 2019, and it just passed this year, approved this public funding for state campaigns. In other words, for every dollar I raise, it's matched by the state of New York by about 12%. We didn't have this in 2022. And to be honest with you, you can't compete against these career politicians unless you have some sort of a war chest. You've got to be able to fund sending mailers to people's homes, doing commercials, doing stuff on social media, and it costs a lot of money. And that was probably the biggest headache I had in 2022. I spent more time fundraising, so that you can have a war chest, right, to get your message out. And I wasn't looking forward to doing that again. But then when this public funding was kicking in this year, I'm like, well, it certainly makes the lift a lot easier. And it clearly levels the playing field for me to compete against my opponent. And to give you an example, you know, all these records can be seen online. It's all public records on what a candidate has in their war chest. And my opponent back in February was sitting on $500,000. He already has it in his campaign fund. And it's like, you know, where are you going, right? But this public financing was designed exactly for people like me. It's for grassroots people to get interested in the run for office. It gives people, who are not connected to power, not connected to wealth. It gives you an opportunity to run for office, and the state will help finance that campaign so that you can be a viable candidate. And it really does level the playing field as far as this campaign this year will be a lot different than it was in 2022. I'll have money if I choose to do TV ads. I'll have money to do radio ads and definitely get my message out there a lot more than I was able to in 2022. So that really helped in that decision. Figuring out the finances. And of course, I sit here every night and I watch the news, and I felt so bad for that 15-year-old girl, right? I mean, she is traumatized for life. And you think that should never have happened, right? I mean, I was in law enforcement 37 years. We used to lock parolees up all the time. If they were out at 12 o'clock at night and we pulled them over, we'd call the parole officer. They'd come right out there at 12 o'clock at night, lock their ass up, send them over to Batavia, and 2 days later, they were back in state prison, And so it just makes me so upset to watch people being victimized, because you got to remember, hey, I spent 37 years protecting this community, right? I was the night watchman, making sure everybody was safe and to make sure people didn't come into our community and steal your car and rape your daughter and do all these bad things that we're seeing right now. And it is absolutely chaos out there, as we all know. We see it every day when we go shopping. We've all seen the shoplifters running out the store with a cart full of stuff. But so yeah, I'm back in the game, and I'm just as strong now as I was in 2022, and I'm here to punch them right in the nose. The Democrats, what they're doing, and that is not funny what they are doing. They trample on the gosh darn Constitution every day. It's in the New York State Constitution that you're supposed to have a budget by April 1st. And look at, here we are. Because of the solar eclipse now, we're already late. Now we're going to extend it till Thursday. And, but God forbid you don't pay your taxes by April 15th, right? You're going to be fined and punished for not paying your taxes. But it's gotten way out of control. A one-party rule is not good. It's not healthy. And they are taking us down a very dark path on where our state is going. And that's why 300,000 people walk out of here. They vote with their feet. They get the heck out of New York because it's too expensive to live here. The regulations are crazy. And then they tell you it's the weather. Well, it's not really the weather, it's the economic environment. And again, try to go buy bullets for your shotgun, right? To go hunting or something. You can't even buy bullets in New York anymore. Anyway, we can go on all day on how bad things are. But the question is, how are we going to fix this, right? And this is where people look at, if you're fed up, you can't sit on the sidelines. If you sit on the sidelines, that's a vote for keep things as status quo. People have got to come out and they vote, and you've got to change the people who are sitting in office, right? We call it firing them. You have to fire them and put in new people. And hopefully you put in people like myself who have morals, values. I know right from wrong. And I totally side with the citizens first, our veterans first, our elderly first, not illegal migrants. We're about to spend $2.4 billion in this budget that she's about to pass on the illegals. And I got to tell you something. I was downtown yesterday, Charles. I stopped by the Democrat and Chronicle building to support
I saw that. Go ahead.
And so first of all, when I'm down there on Main Street, right, you got the dirt bike running up and down Main Street doing a wheelie, because this is the new norm in downtown in Rochester. It really is. There's absolutely no law and order down there. There's four of us walking back to our car. Some guy on a bicycle starts yelling and screaming at us, wanting to fight us. I have no idea what the problem was, other than he was just crazy. And you get accosted like this. You get into your car. I take the back roads to go home. At every street corner, because it was such a nice day yesterday, every street corner had beggars on every street corner. You name it. And I took pictures of every one of them, and I put them on Facebook. And I said, this is what life looks like with Democratic control. It's insane. And I don't know why people tolerate this crap,
Can you tell everybody real quick, for people that don't know, District 56?
That's important.
What area does it cover? Yeah.
So look at, I would be the state senator that covers the towns of Gates, Greece, Henrietta, Brighton, and then everything in the city that's west of the Genesee River. So literally from Genesee Valley Park all the way down to Charlotte, the whole west side of the city. If you live in any of those areas, then I'm the person that you could vote for. And that's about 300,000 residents in that area. It's a big area. Obviously, it's mostly Democrat, but you know what? I think even moderate Democrats are not into what they're seeing every day, and what's happening on our streets and the economy and how much we're spending and our taxation, regulations. It's crazy. New York has totally gone drunk on power, and I think a lot of people are just fed up with it.
Cherie, were you going to ask him something?
So, for those that don't know you, Jim, and have never met you and never had that privilege of getting to know you, one of the things that always struck me as an amazing thing about you is even as the local police chief, you sat down and met with anybody that asked. And we're now living in a time where people want to talk to their elected officials. They're not able to. They won't return their phone calls. And I think that it would be prudent to discuss, like, is that something that you are going to carry with you if you are elected? Are you going to be reachable? Are you going to sit down and talk to the people still?
Yeah, look, I had a lot of mentors when I was going up the ranks, and going from just being a worker to a leadership role. And that was like one of the things all my mentors always said. You never go home at the end of the day without at least calling back the phone messages that are there, even if you can't talk to them right then and there. But you got to reach back to them and let them know you got the phone message, and that customer service is everything. And a lot of it is just our own personal experiences, right? I mean, how many of us have been frustrated when you call an office, right? You're trying to get an answer and you get blown off. And I always said, nobody likes to be treated like that. And so, when I was the chief of police, now I realized it was a lot smaller area, but I made sure I went to everything. I attended everything, and I called people back. I wrote people letters. If your loved one, was a victim of a serious crime or killed out of state, I'd go over and meet with you and try to be that person to counsel you and give you some advice. That customer service is what it's all about. And that's what we all want, right? I mean, we all want that. If I call somebody's office, I expect a phone call back. And and that's the type of management that I'll continue, when elected to senator. But I got to tell you, when I go door to door, when I went door to door, that was always the biggest complaint I heard from people, about our current senator. People would tell me how they emailed him, left phone messages, never heard back. And that's not good government, right? I mean, even if you have an answer that they're not going to be happy with, but I think people appreciate just the fact that you at least acknowledge them and talk to them. And we may not agree, but man, there's nothing worse when you blow somebody off, though.
Absolutely. And too many times now we're seeing that's what's happening, and it's making it so difficult for anybody to get anywhere with anything.
Well, and I think part of that problem too is, look, we got to remember the makeup of the Senate and the Assembly. It's Democrats supermajority. If they know you're an opponent, you're a citizen with a different view, you're a Republican, they don't have to call you back, because it's not going to matter at the end of the day. They have so many people on their side that are going to elect them. They don't even worry about that, and sure enough, they get elected every 2 years, but again, I think people have got to you got to start holding the people that you elect, hold them accountable. Stop just keep voting the same line every time. I mean, I don't know. That's what was sad about 2022. When we lost that election, my first thought was, I can't believe the issues didn't matter, right? Because even in 2022, at that time, the murder rate was crazy, right? 83 people in Rochester got murdered. Yeah. And this was all about the Democratic policies. They set the freaking lions loose on the same neighborhoods that they were trying to protect, right? Those poor, underserved neighborhoods are where most of those murders occurred, caused by the Democratic Party. And then people just go and they just vote down the line, Democrat. And so it was frustrating, to think that the issues didn't really matter. A lot of this just comes down to people just vote party, and that's how they go, which makes it extremely difficult. But if you're frustrated, this isn't about Democrat or Republican. This is about, are you fed up with what's going on? I don't care if you're a Democrat, vote something different, because just voting for the same thing is just going to get you more taxes, more crazy social policies that are going to come out. And you got to vote different.
Well, and I think it's key that we all get out there and vote. I mean, so many are so frustrated that we don't want to go out and vote anymore. And the only way to affect any change is to get out there in the masses and do it. Whether you think it's a flawed system or not, that's the way you're going to beat the system, is to get out there and have your voice heard and start calling these officials and holding them accountable.
Yeah, let's take a look at this last election, right? We just had the November election. The county executive was up. Now, that, as we're seeing now, after the election, a lot of big boo-boos made. That county executive was a very powerful position and a very important position. And, we now have 10 days of early voting. I mean, it's so easy to vote now, and we still only had, 33% of the vote. 33% of all the voters in Monroe County took the time to go out and vote. And we gave you 10 days to vote. You could have mailed your ballot in, and people still, I don't know why they don't take the time and exercise their right to vote.
So it's not letting that frustration take over that right to exercise to vote. And I think that that's kind of what we're starting to see, is that frustration is taking over that right. And so changing that message of, you have to not let your frustration change that right, and make sure you're taking advantage of your rights, because it's really the best way to impact change.
It's the only way to impact change is to vote, right? I mean, look at how many, every elected official in Monroe County, from the Chamber of Commerce, Bob Duffy, every town supervisor, everyone's written petitions, they've written letters to Albany, change the bail reform, right? It doesn't mean a thing. You see, it doesn't matter. They don't care. They don't need you. So the only way to change that is you got to vote them out of office. November is the only way you can really effectuate change. Everybody's tried writing letters. Sheriff Baxter, everybody's written letters and how bad things are. It doesn't matter. The only way you can do it is you got to fire them on November 5th.
Well, and I think that people don't understand how much power is held within those offices. So you can take away, maybe you are not for fixing the bail reform, okay? Maybe you're not for any of that, but maybe you are for standing up for children and the foster care system and what's happening and families that are taking in kids. Well, that power to change one statement and the policy lies within our elected officials. It lies within the Assembly and the Senate to be able to make those changes, and they're not even returning their calls on that. Yet currently we're sitting with a representative in District 56 who was adopted, but yet he doesn't want to change the laws to help children to be able to stay with their family, and won't even return a call for it. And that's, a smaller thing that directly impacts your life. And I think sometimes people forget that.
Yeah, I think voters forget to look at the complete package, right? They'll see a candidate who says, well, Jim's not, he's not for the veterans, so I'm not going to vote for him, right? In the meantime, the rest of Jim makes sense, but that one issue, nope, can't vote for him. So, but I'd rather just keep what we have, right? I guess, it's unfortunate that sometimes people see one issue, one flaw in you that they don't agree with. And then
that's an example, and that's only an example, because I know you're for the veterans.
It's funny, right? It's he's not for unions. I'm not. I've heard it all, right? The abortion issue, this, that. All it takes is one issue, and people just write you off. And it says, well, have you looked at the big picture, what the other guy is doing, right?
And the other thing, the abortion issue is not an issue. We live in New York State. It's codified in the Constitution. It's not going anywhere.
No.
So if you're pro-life or pro-choice, it doesn't really matter. But you should be, if you're pro-choice for all the choices.
Right.
Why isn't everything equally funded? If that's the argument, well, and if you're truly pro-choice, then it should be everything. It should be Compass Care. It should be Planned Parenthood. It should be, infertility treatments. Everything should be funded then.
Yeah, absolutely. And, so all right. So people say, well, what's the difference between you and a Democrat when it comes to the abortion? Well, you know what? I'm not quite as far left when it comes to abortion. I don't believe we should be paying for everybody's abortion from around the country. Come to New York and we'll pay for your abortion. I don't, I believe we should be notifying parents before we just allow a 13-year-old to get an abortion. I believe there should be some sort of a term limit involved there unless there's a medical issue. We need some guardrails put up on New York's just gone way off the chart, and making sure abortions is like having your tooth pulled, And really what pro-choice means to Democrats is you go over to Planned Parenthood. Pro-choice doesn't mean adoption,
Right.
foster care, and the other stuff. And look, I was an out of wedlock pregnancy back in 1963, and my birth mother had to make a choice back then. And back then, because abortions were illegal, there was the black market, or you had a lot of churches. The Episcopal Church used to have a program for mothers, where they would, let you go live somewhere for 8 months, hide you during that pregnancy, have the baby, put it up for adoption. That was my scenario. She lived in one of these emergency pregnancy places, had me, put me up for adoption immediately, and here I am today. So, but yeah, and today those things are all gone, right? I mean, a lot of those services are all gone, and there's definitely no funding for those. It's all about just go to Planned Parenthood.
You know what I noticed? You know what I noticed? Not to cut in, but at first it was like at first in New York was like 13 weeks, I think it was, abortion up to 13 weeks, and now it's up to just before birth.
Yeah,
Isn't that what it is? Isn't that what it is in New York right now? Just before birth, so you could be just ready to have the baby like the following week, and then you could have abortion. That is literally a baby. And that's what's wild to me. Is right up to birth. Yeah. I think that's what it is in New York. Am I off on that or not?
I'm not exactly sure of the time. I mean, I've heard the same thing. But let me ask you a question. All right, so here's an interesting thing, right? I was surfing the news tonight. If you go on WXXI, a lot of times I go to WXXI, right? It's not really the station I listen to, but a lot of times they have some secret articles in there that nobody else is reporting on. And if you go on there right now, you'll see an article that nobody else has reported on, where Planned Parenthood quietly got the approval from the Brighton Town Board. I got to remember, they're all Democrats over there. With no opposition, because I'll bet you nobody even knew there was a public hearing, and they got permission to build a brand new state-of-the-art facility like you see on university, but it's going to be bigger than university, and they're going to build it up there at Westfall and Clinton, I believe. But anyway, what was interesting about the article is they talk about how hard it was a 2-year process to try to find a place because of all the opposition. Nobody, what I mean? But there's so much opposition for them to build a building, and they couldn't, it's so hard, and all the legal fees it cost them to do this. There's all this opposition, but then everybody supports abortion. So I can't figure this out, right? It took them very hard to find a location to finally build their building. And when you go to the polls, it's like, poop, everybody wants it. So I don't know why they're not on every corner, because when you talk to voters, they go out and vote for that immediately. But again, go look at that news story, because it's nowhere else about this new building that, and apparently in the middle of the night, the town board gave them all the approvals necessary. And now they're going to build finally in Brighton. At first it was going to be in Henrietta. Remember, Henrietta took them to court, and they lost. Henrietta lost. But again, they didn't want all the trouble. And again, they went to a nice blue town like Brighton, got it pushed through real quick, quietly, and now they're going to build a facility over there. But again, it was interesting listening to them complain about how many people are complaining about them. Well, if all these people are upset with you and complaining about you and challenging you in court every step you make, does that tell you maybe we're doing something people don't like? But I don't know. Election days are weird, though.
So how can now you talk about the people can donate and then they match it, right? New York State now matches it for the
yeah. And
how can people like contact you with all that and donate?
Yeah, so look at here's what's kind of cool about this public financing is they won't match donations from corporations, and they only want small checks. Okay, they will only match checks that are $5 the minimum, up to $250 the maximum. They don't want you getting checks bigger than $250. And then in order to match, you have to live in my area, right? So if I get a check that comes out of Penfield, I can't put that in for matching funds. It'll just be the check that you gave me. However, if you live in my area and a $5 donation is worth $60, you know, a $10 donation is worth 120. So JimVanBrederode.com. If you go on to my website, there's a WinRed online way to do that. Or you can mail a check, Friends of JVB, 1020 Spencerport Road, Rochester 14606. But
So, go ahead.
No, look at it's not about big checks. It's little checks. The state will match it times 12. Not looking for big money.
But the thing that a lot of people don't understand, though, that your district is 56, but what you do and what you fight for in 56 really affects the whole state.
Absolutely.
It's not just your district. You're representing that district on the beliefs and everything, but it affects the whole state. So just because you live somewhere way out in New York somewhere, that doesn't mean by supporting you, they're still supporting New York.
It's a conservative vote back in Albany. I think there's like 62 senators, and it's another Republican senator down in Albany when it comes time to. And again, I hate using the words Republican, Democrat. It's not what this is about. It's about what would your mother do? Is this common sense or not? Right? What would your mother say to you on this issue? Is this the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do? This is just common sense. Use reasonableness. Come to the middle of the road and let's make some decisions. Nobody wants either extreme right or extreme left. Just common sense and what can we do to build a bridge so that all of us can agree. And we don't always get everything that we want. Just some common sense leadership.
I think we have a really good slate of candidates running right now. I mean, you have a counterpart running across where you're not, across the waters there. Luis Martinez running for Senate too. That is the same kind of moderation where we could have some equalness across the board for everyone, where we could all be happy.
Yeah, it's interesting, and so there's six state positions that are open right now. Between there's 4 assembly seats and the 2 Senate, and of the 6, only one is a sitting politician right now, and it's Tracy DeFlorio, who's a county legislator. The other 5 of us have absolutely never sat in office before. But that's even better because these people are running for the right reason, right? They're running because of their hearts, not because this is a job. I'm 60 years old. I've already had a career. I don't need a paycheck. I don't need to get 2 more years in the retirement system. I'm going to Albany because I can't stand what I'm seeing, and I know you can't stand it either. And the same with my other colleagues that are all running. We're all running because we are just so fed up. It's not because, this is a career path for us. Most of us are all older in life. We have successful businesses and careers, and we're taking this on because it's time to be the change and not just sit on the sidelines and let them get away with nobody running.
You guys don't want to be career politicians. You don't want to be career politicians either. No.
Yeah, and that's how it was supposed to be. This is what it's supposed to have been all along. It wasn't supposed to be you went there forever. You went in, you did some time, and you came back because it was your duty. No,
you're absolutely right. And unfortunately, my opponent is a very young person. He come out of law school. He was taking care of the political system, took care of him from his first job to getting him elected, and he's on the career path in the political arena. I don't know, and look at it. He's got to get so many years in the retirement system, in order to get his pension. So each election to him counts. Me, I could care less for this job. This isn't about my. I've already had my career. I'm coming out of retirement to go fight for us, for me, you, my neighbors, my family. I can't stand what I'm seeing right now, and it's so preventable. So much of this is preventable had we just had some common sense down in Albany.
Well, and honestly, whether he stays in that seat or not, he'll end up with another job for the state, I'm sure. So it's really not going to impact his pension other than what he retires at, because your pension is calculated by your last 3 years. So, I mean, he doesn't need to protect his pension. He wants to make this his career, and it's not supposed to be a career. And when you can't even speak to your constituents, then, it's time for a new job.
And career politicians, the ones that are in it for a career, and if they don't get reelected, they shift them around. They shift them around in the political organization. They shift them around into another position or something, and that's why. So even if he lost, he's going to get, like you said, Sheree, he'll get shifted. He'll be put somewhere else.
Yep.
No doubt. The career politicians are like that.
Sure. It's like somebody said to me the other day, if you're a politician, right, and you have $1 million in the bank, there's something wrong with you. Right? How did you end up with $1 million in your bank account if you're just a politician not taking money from other sources, That's a good point, when you look at some of these people in Washington that have $70 million in the bank, and you didn't make that from being a congressperson or a senator. Where'd that money come from?
Yeah. Maybe selling paintings for $1.5 million or something. I thought about doing that, but anyways.
but look, let's go back.
Draw some stick men. Maybe you
there we go.
Go ahead, Chief. Go ahead and finish what you're saying.
Well, look, here's an interesting point that we need to talk about. And when you look at voter registration, right, there are more people that are registered blank right now than the Republican. The blanks are number 2 right now, right? The Democrats have the most enrollment. Then you have the people that used to be called independent now that they don't want to associate with either party. They're blanks. And then you have the Republicans at about 24%. So really the question is, what do we do to motivate the blanks, A, to come out and vote, and B, how do we win them over? How do I earn that vote from them? And that's really where the battleground is with all these people that are fed up with both parties. And so they don't even want to be registered. But it also makes me worried about, what potentially could happen this election, right? Typically on a presidential year, everyone's excited because the voter turnout is usually around 70% or higher. But this is an interesting election, right? You got 2 people that I don't think either party is too fond of. So will a lot of people just sit home and say, I'm not going to vote, period, because I don't like either one of them? It's going to be interesting to see what the voter turnout looks like for this election, because it's a much different election. You got 2 people that are really up there in age. I don't think either party is 100% excited with what their candidates are. But isn't that something? Out of 330 million people, this is what we get, But I also think it shows why nobody in the right mind would want to try to run for office. It's a brutal experience, and it takes money, it takes power. And so we end up in situations where you see the same names, same family names running. How is it 2 people from the same family can be president? But you got to motivate voters to want to come out this November.
Independence, really, the independence is really the key. Some of the ones they have to really look into people and really research people to see what they're all about.
And you need to understand that just because you go to vote doesn't mean you have to vote for everyone that's on the ballot.
Sure,
you can pick and choose. I will give this person my vote because I believe in them. You don't have to give your vote to anybody else.
That's true.
If that's the issue, and people don't really understand that. So you can write in Mickey Mouse. You can do whatever you want. You don't have to vote for every person on that ballot.
Absolutely. And again, when it comes down to so what's on the ballot this year, right? It's really about the federal government, right? We have Congress, the president, and this is the big year for your state government. And this is the government that really affects you the most, is your state government, right? This is the one you really ought to be going out to vote for, because it's your state government in Albany that really hits you in the wallet. It hits you with these programs that are going on in school and the criminal justice system. And then we have a couple of local county level races, a couple judges, and then we actually have the Monroe County clerk who runs the clerk's office. And for whatever reason, that's a political job. But that's what's up this election, and these are really kind of the Super Bowl election here between the feds and what goes on.
And for all those people that are upset with the voting and all that and the voter rolls and whatever, then they should be out voting like nobody's business and putting a new county clerk in, because that county clerk is in charge of the elections. And people don't
fiscal permits and elections and DMV, right? We all use those services, and I am tired. I have nightmares when I think about I gotta go to DMV and do something, because I don't care what time of the day I plan it. I always seem to get there and I'm like, son of a gun, right? The line's out the door. I can never seem to plan it just right, And it's
you should not have to leave Monroe County to go to the DMV, and that's where we're at.
Yeah, you go to Albion. People keep telling me, go to Albion. You walk right in, walk right out.
Well, you're talking about the traveling DMVs. That's what you're talking about.
The mobile units are gone, so we're back to Greece, and I don't know. Is there one in Henrietta?
Yeah.
But it's a quality of life issue, and pistol permits. It's so hard that they don't come out in the community. Passports, right? They only pick and choose a couple town halls where you can go get your passport. I couldn't get mine in Gates where I live. I had to go to the next town over, and I don't understand why that's done like that. I should be able to walk into any town clerk's office. I can get a fishing license. I can get a dog license in any of these offices. I can get a handicap parking permit. Why can't I get a passport, right? I don't know. But these are all the everyday services that we use, right? Real estate transactions all get recorded down at the clerk's office.
Well, and they're all things that the state said we had to have.
Right.
Well, if you come up from the south across a line, you could probably get a passport like that. Just saying, get everything else for free. Probably walk right into the supermarket. No, I'm just kidding.
No, but I was listening to I was actually listening to one of the liberal news stations, the national news, and I said, you know what the difference is between Biden's administration and the other presidents? When we had any other president in there, even Obama, right? When they came across the border, if they saw the border patrol, they'd run as fast as they could to get away, right? Now, under Biden, you run up to the guy and surrender and say, "I'm here." Isn't that sad? That they don't. The border patrol used to be your enemy. Now you run up to them and you tell them asylum, and you get
give a big hug. Give a big hug.
It's crazy. It's insane, But it's we could talk all day about where the state of the state right now, and more importantly, your life right now in Albany, right? Talk to any of your sitting assembly people, any of your senators right now. They have nothing to do with this budget, okay? They're just all sitting around in their offices waiting to be told when the final budget is done. It's being done by the governor, the majority of the Senate leader, which is Democrat, and the leader of the Assembly, which is Democrat. So we got three powerful Democrats sitting behind closed doors, and they're hammering out some of these far left woke policies on. Elder parole, let you out at 55. If you serve to be 55 and you've done half your sentence, you can qualify for parole. All these crazy things that they're working on. And at the end of the day, when they come out from that room, then they're going to call on all their fellow assemblymen and senators to vote on this. And unfortunately, that's where we're at right now with the power in New York is three people. And what's interesting, right, is here they are. They own everything. They have all the power. And they still can't come up with a budget on time, right? They're fighting so much among themselves. It's not even like you got Democrats and Republicans fighting. It's their own party. It's so divided within their own party, and who can be the most woke and who can't. And
because they're trying to figure out who can make what money is what they're trying to do. And where the money.
It's insane,
So, anyways, Chief, hey, because we're running on about 45 minutes now, but I just wanted to explain to people real quick that you have been on Save New York a couple of times, and you were also on True Blue New York way back when, since the beginning, pretty much.
Yeah.
While you were still police chief, and so everybody's pretty much familiar with you on both platforms. But in True Blue New York, I don't know if people really understand how much you supported True Blue New York in the backgrounds. That I don't think people really understood how much you did with a lot of what True Blue New York was doing.
So look, well, first of all, you got to remember what was going on in 2020, right? COVID kicked in first, and then all the civil unrest started around May, and all the, you know, let's pee all over the police, right? And it went all over the country, burning down police stations, and we had our little riot here in Rochester, nightly protesting. And you know, at that time, I was still the president of the association, and I'll never forget the first time you guys were going to have this. I remember who called me first about wanting some intersections blocked. There was going to be this big rally to support the police, and
It was
I didn't know anything about you guys.
Lindsay called me.
Lindsay called me, right? I don't know, but hey, at that point, you guys were our only friends. I was like, hey, you never want to turn away a friend, right? Everyone else was too busy stabbing us in the back. I mean, literally, you know what? No, it was an eye opener when I was the chief of police in 2020. I got to learn real quick, you know, when the rubber met the road over, were you going to side with BLM or were you going to side with the police? I got to see real clearly which organizations that we were very tight with, right? That sided with the BLM and threw us under the bus. Organizations that were represented crime victims and certain other victims chose to side with BLM, and then I couldn't believe it. After all these years of us fighting for them and their victims, we really got thrown to the curb. So let me tell you something. When you guys called, and then I saw my first rally, you were our only friends, and I'm being serious, okay? You guys were our only friends, other than our some of our residents. What was your organization? And then it just grew from there. The momentum was so exciting. And then when you guys came to the Tech Park and Gates, it literally was a 30-minute procession of just nonstop motorcycles and cars and blue flags, and it was unbelievable. And the thousands of people that showed up at Tech Park.
You see the people out in the streets with the flags, the blue line flags, the American flags. It was really phenomenal. It was like a phenomenon. You know, when I started True Blue New York, I never expected what it became. You know, it was just an idea. It was just an idea, and it just took off. But it was really a phenomenon. Like all the people out in the streets, it was really amazing. And you know, we had the news that went, a couple hundred people showed up at this rally. I'm going, yeah, people looking out their houses, looking at this procession going through, they're going to know better, you know.
But you know what also was good about it for us in law enforcement is not only did we have you guys, the 1,000 of you that were there, but it did turn the light on for us that, you know what, there's a lot of residents that love the police, but they're afraid to say anything. I mean, God forbid at that time you would put a blue line flag up, right? Or you would do anything to show support of the police. You know, you were canceled. So it was good
up everywhere.
It was good for us to see that, you know what, the majority of people still love the police. It was this little minority of people that made a big stink, got all the news, you know, did things that if we did it, we would all been arrested. But because they were an activist group, they could shut down 490 and not get arrested. Could you imagine if we shut down 490? We would have all been put in handcuffs and brought down to the public safety building. It was absolutely disgusting what was going on. But those rallies did show us that, you know what, don't get caught up in the moment. The majority of people do love the police. They support the police. And now we sit here 3 years later and it's like, oh my gosh, you know, the overwhelming support right now for the police is unbelievable. But it was always there. It just got drowned out because of certain groups, you know.
It brought everybody out, and you know, it was really Roberta Irwin with Blue Line Ride to Rally that when we got contacted. I don't know if you remember that or not. And then we were only supposed to promote it out there because when I started True Blue New York, it started blowing up really bad, like with people. It's like crazy. I had police officers message me going, "Is this real? Is this fake or what? What's going on here?" You know, and I tell them, "No, this is not a setup or nothing." But then it took off, and I hooked up with Roberta, and then we started working together on stuff, and then the Monroe County one was the first big one. And that actually, I'm the one that put the Monroe County one on. I go, oh, because I was only going to promote it, and I go, all right, I'll let's do it. You know, somebody said they wanted it in church phone. I'm going, all right, let's do it. So then I have everybody on True Blue New York, the admins and everything, going, you want to help with this? I go, yes. As soon as I did it, I'll tell you, the women, bam, 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 bam. They were on top of everything. I'm going, this is great, you know. They were like everybody's phone calls and all this stuff, and everything just went really quick, and everything got organized quick, and it was a phenomenon. To me, it was really it was like unbelievable thing that happened. But
well, not only that, but I've met some lifetime friends because of that too. You know,
yeah.
I would have never met you and Shree and there's so many other people now that I see at events, and we hug each other and high five each other because you remember back to 2020 how ugly it was and how bad it was, and here we are today. We're it's like there's a certain bond, you know,
Yeah,
with the people, and I don't know. I got a lot of great memories, and it'll always have a special place in my heart. What True Blue New York and everybody did. And, you know, it was funny. I saw Stokey Farms on the news tonight over the eclipse, and I can't help but not think about Stokey Farms, you know, and how exciting that was, and how caring and loving that family is to support the Blue. They took a lot of backlash. They took threats online on Facebook. You know, their business was threatened, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, nothing happened, and they made the right choice to support us. And
well, a lot of people stuck up for them, and they started going there too afterwards. Going, yeah, you're not going to do that to them. You know, a lot of people started
absolutely.
Yeah. Anyways,
one of our friends was out there, Shree, today. You know,
Mm-hmm.
one of our best friends was out there today, and he said there was over 1,500 people that were out at Stokey's farm. I mean, 1,500, that's a great turnout for them to have that many people come out to their farm.
Yeah, I saw Bill posted something.
Yeah,
about
Bill. Yeah. So that was good. That was good.
But it also just goes to show that you can't let the loud minority scare you off and make you afraid to stand up. If nothing else showed that definitely showed that, because it was not what the majority felt, and I think even still today it holds true.
Yeah, I do too. The squeaky wheels getting the oil.
You know, you know what the most amazing thing about one of the most amazing things about True Blue New York was when we were doing it, we were making a huge, loud statement without saying a word.
Right.
We didn't talk about no other organizations. We didn't talk about nobody. We were just there, and we made a huge, loud statement without saying nothing.
So much so that they then took on the flag. The other side said that flag symbolizes racism. That flag symbolizes, you know. I was like, really? It was a freaking memorial flag, and then it became this big issue of racism. And oh my gosh, you know.
But it was fun.
Out of schools, you can't have that in a school building. Oh my Lord.
It was a lot of fun, exciting, patriotic memories going back then. But anyhow, all right. I think we're pretty much done. Chief, anything you want to finish up with by saying, repeat your website again, and et cetera, if you want to finish up.
Jim VanBrederode. Jim Van, V-A-N, VanBrederode, BREDERODE.com. Jim, or just Google it, Jim VanBrederode.com. I got a Facebook page, James VanBrederode Facebook page. You can find me anywhere. And look at, this is the Super Bowl, man. This is it. I mean, we're all sacrificing ourselves to go down there and take on the beast. But you got to put us in the game first. And the only way to put us in the game is you got to vote us in. If you don't vote us in, there's nothing I can do for you. There's nothing any of us can. And we'll be stuck with the same old, same old.
Absolutely. And I'll throw my disclaimer that I always throw. If anybody has questions about voting, if they're registered, if they need help with any of that, you can find me. I'm active on Facebook. I don't hide. Send me a message. Half the world has my phone number. Text me. I will help with anybody that needs that.
Thank you.
Okay, we're all set, and Chief, we'll have you on you again. And look back. I mean, not quite sure why we didn't get that many questions going on, but I'm sure once it starts going, unless they're like killing
the feed.
The feed where they're pushing it down where nobody's getting it, because everybody knows how that works. But just check back, or if I see anything going on, I'll message you and tell you to check it, and you got some questions going on.
Sounds good.
But we'll do it again when it starts getting more heated towards the election.
Yeah, people get more interested. Yeah. Well, thank you, Charles and Shree. Good to see you as always, and thank you for all the fighting that you're doing.
Oh, back at you.
All right, everybody. We'll see everybody later, and everybody have a good night, and have memories of the eclipse. for
Yay!
whatever reason. Yeah. Just
I got a
have it
massage
like
out of the deal. I'm all set.
I'm saying. Hopefully, nobody's got like the eclipse like embedded into their eyeballs. Hopefully none of that happened. But anyways, all right, everybody. Everybody take care and have a good night. We'll talk to you later. All right.